Good afternoon, everybody. Thursday, April 25th, and we're back to talk some more business of photography in motorsports and the car culture. Got some questions yesterday that I thought I would attempt to address, as well as diving back into what it's like to do this as a profession. So, we kind of left off yesterday. I think some people kind of got the idea that I was trying to talk people out of doing this as a job. And definitely not what I want to do for you guys. What I want to do is kind of give you the harsh reality before you decide to make that jump into doing this and into turning something you love into your full-time job. So this is part 2 of this. A couple of the questions that I got asked yesterday. How do you go about contacting promoters? What do you use to edit your images? Things of that nature. So, if you're watching this on YouTube, you can see behind me. That's an image that I captured last year. The image that you guys saw behind the video yesterday was an image from a couple of years ago. So let's talk about this stuff. I think one of the issues that I see is from young and up-and-coming photographers. Who do I contact to be able to photograph an event? And what should the expectations be? And it's kind of a loaded question because there are numerous different ways to go about this. First and foremost, if you're interested in going to an event, whether it's a large car show, something like, I'm just going to use the ones that I've gone to, for example, Scraping the Coast, Orange Beach Invasion. Orange Beach Invasion doesn't really count because there is, that doesn't really count because there's no quote-unquote spectator fee for that. So let's go with like Scraping the Coast, Mini Truck Nats, some Good Guys shows, World of Wheels, and then, your racetrack stuff, whether that's drag racing, dirt track racing, circle track racing, NHRA, IndyCar, Formula One, WRC, etc. You're going to have to learn to do your research. That's first and foremost. So you've gotten a camera now, you've gone and taken some photos, you've set up your social media channel, you've built a website, right? You've done all of that. Because if you haven't done all of that, then you're not really going to get very far as far as getting credentialed to go to these events. Again, that's why a website is so important. These social media channels that everybody relies on are great until, look at the political landscape right now and what we're seeing with one of the major social media outlets, that being TikTok, and what the U.S. government has essentially tried to do to that outlet. So that's why it's so important to have a standalone website. Again, I use Squarespace. They don't pay me to say that. I've used them for years and years. More than 10 years now. I've also built other people's sites on Squarespace. So, you've got your camera, you've got your gear, you're ready to travel. I'm hoping that you've already built your website, you've got a little bit of content on it, you're starting to build your social media presence. What should you do? So, if there's an event that you want to go to, let's say just a local event, and we'll focus on the racing aspect of this, but it also applies to car shows and other events as well. And you want to have media credentials. You want to be that photographer that is on the wall with the access, taking photos of these vehicles, or you want access to different areas of a show, and you want it to be known that you're there to do a specific job. One, you need to plan on this being a job. This is not just go out and have fun. If you're doing this to make money and support yourself, you have to treat it as a job. You'll have to excuse me today. The pollen is kind of bad here, or at least it feels like it. So, okay, so you've chosen the event. Who's in charge of the event? Sometimes that takes a little bit of digging. For me, in the point that I'm at in my career, it's very easy for me to find out who's doing it. But if you see an event posted on, let's say, Facebook or any other social media channel, message that page. See if you can find out who the promoter is in regards to that. If it is an event put on by a track or a facility, message the track, call the track, email the track, find out, and they'll tell you. If they're not in charge of handling the media, they'll usually tell you who is. That is sometimes the easiest way to go about things. If you know a promoter, it dramatically helps too. Again, I discussed this yesterday because I've been in the general motorsports industry and car culture for over 30 years. So I have gotten lucky in the fact that I know most of the promoters, and the promoters that I don't know, a lot of them know of me through other promoters, or they see the content on social media, the website, whatever it may be. I'm going to warn you right now, because this still happens to me, guys. I am a working professional and have been for a decade, full time. This is how I pay my bills, how I pay my mortgage, yada, yada, yada. I still get turned down for credentials. I got turned down last year. It was last year or 2 years ago for an event in Indianapolis called Slamology. I don't even think it's arguably the largest car audio event in the country, if not the world. As far as the amount of competitors and gatherers. I got turned down because I was told that our outlet did not fit what they were looking for in regards to media, which essentially means you don't cover enough of what we're doing for us to justify the issuing you media credentials. I don't take kindly to that. You could say I'm honest about this. I get an attitude about it. If you turn me down for credentials, there is a good chance that I will never come to your event again. Whether as a spectator, as media, whatever it may be. If you reject credentialing me because you're telling me that we don't do enough of that genre, I think you're stupid. Because what you're missing out on is the exposure that your event is then going to get by getting out to an audience that you wouldn't normally have. So I think that was a mistake on their part. Slamology, I'll probably never go, nor do they care. It's not like they're going to lose sleep over the fact that, you know, the pink-haired photographer is not going to come to their car audio event. Again, they don't care. Unfortunately, the crossover between car audio, car shows, and drag racing, which is primarily my audience, there's a huge crossover there, and they completely missed the boat on that one. So kudos to them on that. I've gotten rejected for credentials for Pikes Peak for the same reason, because we don't, at E3, we don't cover enough of that genre of racing. And that is a huge event. Now, I did get lucky last year. After I got rejected for credentials, I ended up being a team photographer for a team that was competing at the event. I got lucky because one of my friends tunes one of the cars running at Pikes. I'm sorry, that wasn't last year. That was 2 years ago. Something like that. It was the 100th running. So yeah, that was 2 years ago because I didn't go last year. So don't just give up because you get rejected. It used to be a lot more difficult to get credentials for certain events than it is now. They're used to, and a lot of that is because a lot of media, if you will, and again, I define that much differently than content creators. Unfortunately, other people don't. There's not a lot of mainstream media within motorsports and the car culture. In drag racing, there's very, very little. There's 5 of us that I would consider, maybe 6 of us that I consider actual media outlets outside of NHRA. And I don't, knock on wood, I don't get rejected for drag racing. Now, NHRA, if you are a photographer and you want to go play in NHRA's pond, just be aware that there are going to be a lot of expectations. Unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on who you are, I'm not overly welcome at NHRA because they have decided that if you say anything sideways about any decisions that they make, they don't want you there. That is not... They don't want unbiased truth in reporting. So just remember that when you are making these relationships and these friendships and these connections, there are going to come times where if you have an opinion about something, it can be detrimental to your ability to have access. Access is the key as a photographer, whether it's car shows or at the racetrack. Having access matters. And what I mean by that is, can you walk into somebody's pits and just start taking photos? Do they trust you? Do they know who you are? Does the promoter know who you are? Do they feel safe with you being out there? So, I digress. Let's go back here. And so you've chosen the event, and now you've figured out who the promoter is that's in charge of media and credentialing for media. How do you go about it? Do you have their email, their phone number, their social media contact? How are you going to reach out to them? And what are you going to say when you do reach out to them? Be honest with them. Don't BS them. Don't, pad your resume, if you will. Don't do that. You may still get told no, or they may give you a different kind of access. But don't BS them, because a good promoter is going to know. It's not difficult to find out the skill level, if you will, of a photographer. So, approach them in a manner of, I really would like to come to your event. And if you're new, you could be honest about it. I would really like to come to your event. I would really like to cover your event. And I want to go about requesting media credentials for said event. They may have some questions for you, like, what is your social media channel? You'll have some promoters who are, I'm just going to tell it like it is. There are some promoters that are dicks. They're going to be like, well, if you don't have 10,000 followers on whatever, I could buy 10,000 followers in a day. Just because you have 10,000 followers doesn't mean shit. I see people with 1 million followers on a social media channel, and their videos will have like 300 views. So let's really get over that, and that's something that needs to be addressed with promoters that just look at numbers because they're stupid. So address them in a professional manner and say, I am such and such. And if you're just starting out, let them know that, I've done a couple of events or whatever it may be. I'm trying to be a part of this community. I'm trying to grow with the community and help the community itself grow. And I'd be really interested in covering your event. Now, there are going to be some promoters that you're going to end up having a discussion in regards to, well, that's fine, but I want all your photos. The reason that they want all your photos is because they want to use it for advertising purposes and flyers and everything like that. You're going to have to make the decision as a working professional on what you're going to allow your content to be used for. For example, I have certain promoters that I have been covering their events for years and years and years, and if they want to use some of my photos, great. There are other promoters who expect you to give them all of your photos. I won't do that. I won't go to those events. I won't cover those events. Yeah, I'm not going to spend thousands of dollars out of my pocket to go to an event to give them stuff for free just because they're letting me in to cover the event and not charging me a spectator fee. No, that's a hard pass from me. Those are just the boundaries that I've personally set, and you're going to have to figure out what those boundaries are for yourself. Everybody is different. I know photographers that don't care. They will give up their third-born child just to go cover an event, and I don't quite grasp that concept because I think you devalue your work when you do that. But it is a working relationship. If a promoter like a Donald Long or a Monty Miko or a Michael Hill, or some of the other promoters, if they want photos, I've built those relationships and friendships with them that we, work things out. And then I have other promoters who think that just because they see something on social media or a Google image search that is free to use, and that's a whole new can of worms that we will get into in a different podcast as far as the legalities with copyright and fair use and other things like that are. So now you've contacted this promoter and they're like, yeah, great, come on. And you're excited because you are getting into this event. You're going to be media and you're going to go. And you get there. Now, before you get there, I hope you have a plan on what you want to do. And then take that plan, crumple it up, and throw it in the trash because it never ends up working out the way that you want it to. I don't care who you are or what you do. That plan that you had for that event, like, I need to get these photos and these photos and these. Something is always going to throw a wrench in it, and it is never going to go the way that you planned. Whether it's weather or camera issues or lighting, something is always going to throw a wrench in shit. So the best laid plan, great, you can have it, but chances are within the first day of you being there, you're just going to throw it away and just wing it. I don't know very many people who lay out a plan, unless you've got a team of people. You're not usually laying out a plan and then that plan works, because it just doesn't. Every time. And 45 weekends a year, I'll have a plan. Like this weekend, I've got a big grudge shootout race that I'm going to in Steele, Alabama. I've got a plan on what I want to do, and I'm willing to bet you by tomorrow night I've already thrown that plan out the window and said, screw it, I'm just going to do it a completely different way. So I have a plan in place. And understand when you contact the promoter, and I know I'm kind of jumping back and forth here. I hope that it's not too confusing. I don't like set out with a specific outline, if you will, on how I'm going to do these shows. I just wing it, whatever comes to mind. So understand the expectations from the promoter too. Know where you can go, where you cannot go. I don't care if you're media. That doesn't mean that you can just run around the place like a dipshit. There are going to be expectations in regards to where you can go, what you can photograph, what you can't photograph. Be respectful. I know that we live in a generation where crashes are cool and all this and that, and I don't post crash stuff because I think it's I don't think it's tasteful. I've driven a race car. I wouldn't want to see photos of a crash if I had a crash. There are exceptions to that. If I talk to the driver or the car owner or both, and they're okay with it, and I think that it's worthy or needing to be seen, then yes. But I've had drivers tell me, no, I don't want those posted. Okay, I won't post them. Again, it's that access. If you start pissing off your subject matter, which is the cars and the drivers, whether you're at a car show or at a racetrack, if you start pissing them off by always placing them in a bad light and posting crash photos or photos that don't necessarily always put them in a good light, and they don't always, you're still reporting, so you got to balance that out. But there are going to be times where a driver is going to get pissed off at you and you will lose access to that driver. And again, we've talked about this. The key is to have access to these people and to what you're doing, because it's going to make your job exponentially easier. Okay, so you've got all that down. You've got your plan. You've got your expectations. You know what to do and what not to do. You pull in, you're all set to go, right? My biggest piece of advice, especially when you're new, find the promoter or find the track owner at the event and thank them. Thank them for allowing you to have media credentials and cover the event. Not only is it just a good thing to do as a human being, it's a good thing to do to help your career. Don't be standoffish with the promoter. Listen to what the track personnel has to say. Make friends with track personnel. Or I'm always big into making friends with the security people at an event. Especially like security at the racetrack where I'm coming in, or if there's security along the fence line. Things like that. I always make an effort to befriend and hold conversation with security people. You're usually walking around with thousands upon thousands of dollars, if not tens of thousands of dollars, in expensive electronic equipment. Making friends with security guards is always a good thing to do. But yeah, definitely when you get there, if you get a chance, find the promoter or find the track owner and just thank them. And if it was a good event, I don't care if it's a car show, I don't care if it's a race, if it was a good event, make sure to tell the promoter or the track owner, whoever is quote unquote in charge, compliment them on it. The way that it was, maybe you like the way the event was run, how well it was organized. Not only did you have credentials to be at the event, but let them know that you appreciated the event itself. It's definitely something that will go a long way in your career. I try to do this every event that I think is a really good event. I make an effort to let them know that. And if I can't let them know that while I'm at the track, I try to convey that in the articles that I write after the fact. Now, you will find, I do have to warn you on this, you will find that there are some genres of motorsports where the photography group is very, very cliquey. Like the "you can't sit at our table" cliquey. NHRA was like that for years. I don't think it's as bad anymore, but it's been like that for years. I have never photographed dirt track racing, but from everybody that I've talked to that's done dirt track racing, the core group of photographers in dirt track racing is super cliquey. Like, no, you can't sit at our table. No, we don't want you here. They're very territorial. Not only are they cliquey, they're territorial about everything. And they're going to make you feel like you don't belong there. Don't listen to them, because you know they started out where you started out to begin with. Any idiot who's like, you don't belong here, do you have... If you say that to me, and I'm credentialed just like you are, guess what? I have just as much right to be here and do my job and do what I'm doing as you do. But they think because they have 10, 15, 20 years of experience that they're going to talk down to you and make you feel like trash and that you don't belong there and that you're not good enough to be there, yada, yada, yada. Well, guess what? They had to start someplace too. So they can piss off. It is the grumpy old group of people that don't want to get with the times and understand that there are a bunch of young and up-and-coming content creators who are going to carry the entire motorsports industry. And when I say motorsports industry, I include the car culture in that. These younger people that are creating content, now I do wish they would write more, but the younger ones creating content are the ones that are going to try to carry this industry for the next 20, 30, 40 years. So those people that get up into your shit about being there and I can't believe they let you in here to photograph this. They could piss off. They could piss all the way off because they're just angry and they're territorial and they're scared. They're scared because new people are coming in and they're all worried that any money that they're going to make is going to go away. Guess what? There's room for all of us. The people that get the most territorial and scared about shit, especially local track photographers, they aren't that good. That's what I will say about that. The reason that they are jumping on your shit about being there and, you know, saying that you're not good enough or that you didn't put in the time, you don't deserve to be there, whatever it may be, they're not good enough. And what I say by they're not good enough because they can't handle competition. They can't handle the idea that there may be photographers better than them. Especially people who are much younger than them, who don't have as much experience as them. It happened to me when I first started doing photography. I wasn't new to motorsports, but I was new to photography. And it happened to me. I don't care. But you're going to run into bullies. So just be aware. And they can piss off. Now, if they threaten you or anything like that, you need to talk to the promoter, the track owner. Don't ever take anything into your own hands. Just walk away from it because it is entirely too easy to get blackballed or labeled as a troublemaker or whatever it is. Whether it's just car culture in general or at a racetrack, it's just too easy for people to talk shit and start shit. So just move on from it. That would be my greatest advice. If you run into issues while you're at an event, talk to the promoter, talk to the track owner, talk to whoever you need to talk to. And if they don't want to do anything about it, because it's a good old boy system sometimes, if they don't want to do anything about it, is it really someplace that you want to be? I mean, you have two choices. You could continue dealing with it just to prove the idiot wrong, or you could just walk away, make yourself happy, and find somewhere else to be. Just don't be near them. I mean, there are plenty of times in my career that I've just gone on the other side of the racetrack, or I've gone to the top end, or I've gone to go do pit photos. And it will make life exponentially easier on you to not have to deal with those headaches from those idiots. And that's all they are. They're jealous, territorial idiots who don't have enough self-confidence in their work, and they're afraid that everybody is out to get them. So don't worry about those people. Another bit of advice while you're at the racetrack, or, car shows not so much, but racetrack, yes. If you're walking around in the pits and you're taking photos in the pits, be respectful of the crew member's space. Don't be getting in the way. I have seen entirely too many photographers trying to capture moments, and all they're doing is putting themselves in the way. Like, if the crew is trying to thrash on a car, and you're getting right in the middle of shit and getting in the way, guess what? You're not going to be welcome back. Because they're going to tell other people, and other people, it's just going to trickle down or trickle up, depending on how you look at it, because then the promoter's going to eventually find out, yada, yada, yada. Stay out of people's ways. You can do your job and be invisible in certain circumstances. Another thing that I will tell you is, if you're really keen on photographing a specific car in the pits, and I've done this on numerous occasions, if the car owner or the driver, if they're separate people, if they're the same person, just ask, is there anything you don't want photographed on the car? They may have some parts on there that are specific to them, that they've worked with their chassis builder or their carburetor guy, whoever it may be. There may be specific things on there that they don't want the world to see. Especially when the front end is off the car, or, it's jacked up in the air, or whatever it may be. So be polite about it, and all you have to do is ask. And a lot of the time, they'll just laugh. Most of the response I've got has been laughter when I've asked that question. There have been a couple of people that have said, no, I don't want you photographing yada, yada, yada. Especially if they don't know you. Like, when I go to a radial race, those guys all know me. I've been doing radial racing for over 15 years. They all know who I am. It's not a big deal. Grudge racing's a different story. They're very protective of their secrets, if you will. Not that I truly believe much is a secret, but a lot of them are secretive about what they're doing. And I respect that. Cool. If you're a dick about it to me, like, there have been drivers that I've been walking around the pits and I've taken a photo from a distance and their hood happened to be off or something and they freaked out about it and they were a total dick about it. Guess what? I won't photograph your car the rest of the damn weekend. I don't care. Be an adult about it, and don't be a dick, and we'll be fine. I will respect your not wanting photos of certain things. I totally get it. Is what it is. I'm fine with that. Just don't be a dick about it. But as a photographer, don't be surprised if they get dickish with you. So just make the effort to ask. Asking goes a long way. When you are at the racetrack and you are around a bunch of other photographers, make sure that you're not getting in the way. Now, with that said, you do have every right to be there and capture the images that you need to capture. You do not have the right to block 5 other photographers by hanging over the damn wall and blocking everybody behind you. Because there are very few things that will get you in trouble with the group of people that you are going to have to constantly be around than to start getting in other photographers' ways. You start doing that, and I can tell you right now it's going to be a long day at the office. Especially if you're at a racetrack that I'm at, because I'm usually the one that everyone asks to go deal with the situation. Because it happens every time we're at the track. Notoriously, you'll have somebody leaning over the wall, and it blocks everybody behind them. And then the big fat middle-aged guy with the pink hair has got to go up and deal with it. And I'm not nice about it, because I have expectations that common sense tells you if I'm leaning over this wall and I'm getting in other people's ways, they're probably not going to be happy with me. And while the motorsports community is a large community, the media and photo and video side of it is a sliver, a sliver of a sliver when it comes to the grand scheme of motorsports. So, be professional, be polite, do what you need to do. You figure out how to work around people. If there are people behind you, you just look back, and normally they'll give you some kind of acknowledgement to let you know that you're not in their way. Or don't be offended if they ask you to take, a step back. Just because, especially if they've been there for 3 or 4 hours and you just randomly walk up and stand in front of them, they're going to be pissed. There is etiquette to doing what we do, and there is a respect that goes a long way, and if you don't use it, again, it's going to be a long day at the office. So now you've, done what you need to do, whether it's, a day, 2, 3 days. You've taken care of everything that you wanted to take care of, right? It's time to go home. I'm hoping that you didn't leave a bunch of trash or batteries and all that other BS sitting trackside, whether you're at a dirt track race or wherever you're at. You pick up all your crap and take it with you. So you're going to head home now, right? Okay. So you're asking yourself, what am I going to do then once I get out of here and get home, right? Take a parting racetrack photo before you leave. Whip out your phone. Take a selfie of you at the racetrack. Something like that. Something to remember it by. This may get monotonous at some point, but the simple fact is, maybe the only time you go to that racetrack. Or it may be a racetrack that you end up going to 100 times. But you still got to have fun. And there's nothing wrong with taking what Ellen calls the parting racetrack photo. I love the parting racetrack photo. It's always fun. It's sad because your weekend's done at that point. So you're going to drive home, right? Or you're going to fly home, whatever it is. Some of the best advice that I can give you after an event: do not sit around and wait for days and days and days to start editing photos. Now, I've already gone almost 40 minutes on this one, so we're not going to get into the process, if you will, of how I edit and things like that in this episode. I will do that in the next episode. So if you're wanting to come back for and learn, how I edit or whatever it may be, great. We can that'll be in the next episode, which I'll probably record tonight because I'll be gone tomorrow. So don't sit and go, okay, well, I get home on Sunday and these photos can wait until Wednesday or Thursday before I even start working on them. Wednesday or Thursday, if you're doing this full-time Wednesday or Thursday, you're already at the next racetrack. Or you're headed to the next racetrack. Don't let stuff sit, because then it also becomes irrelevant. You want to get that stuff out So my suggestion is the day that you get home, unless it's, 1 o'clock in the morning or something like that. The day that you get home, let's talk about this weekend, for example. I'm going to be at Steel on Friday and Saturday. And I'll come home late Saturday night. And it'll be late Saturday night. Sunday morning, I will immediately go into editing mode. And I'll find 20 of my favorites from the weekend. And I'll edit them, watermark them, and get them put up on social media on Sunday. So that not only the promoter knows that they made a good decision of allowing me media credentials to be there, it shows that I am professional, that I'm getting the work done. If I've got branding partners, which obviously Classic and Menser Motorsports are always on everything, it gets their name out there quickly too. And I want people to continue to come back and look at the images and the content that I've captured from said event. So I will throw together a quick gallery and I will post that on social media, because that will normally then engage people and make them want to come back for more. Now, when I say I'm going to throw up 20 photos, I don't stop there. I then continue to try to edit as much as possible. My editing style, again, is very minimalist. I can, if I'm really crushing it, I can get 600 to 800 photos done in a 36-hour period as far as editing goes. Now, I'm not editing for 36 hours straight. My eyes would be absolutely fried and I wouldn't be able to function. But because you get used to so many things and used to the software that you're using and things like that, get a process down. But get some photos out as soon as you can. Go through and pick some of your favorites and put those up and be like, hey, this is what I was doing over the weekend. These are some of my favorite images. There will be more to come. And if the promoter's on social media, tag the promoter, tag the event, whatever. Just get some stuff out there and get the ball rolling. And you want to do this every time you go to an event. I don't care if it's a car show. I don't care if it's a drag race. I don't care if it's a circle track, a dirt track, a road course, whatever. It just get some content out there from the weekend. And this may motivate you to write stories about how the weekend went as well. And again, in your social media posts, there's not a problem if you want to thank the promoter or the track owner and things like that in your post as well. That then goes a long way to you being welcome back. Now, if it's a shit event, be careful how you word that. I mean, anybody who knows me knows if it's a shit event, I'm going to say it was a shit event. But I'm also going to tell you what some of the good things were. If there were good things, there were good things. If there were bad, there were bad. If there's struggles, whatever it may be. But it's also the same thing that I would tell the promoter or the track owner directly to their face. That's just the way that I grew up. I mean, it is what it is. And people don't like to hear that. I don't care. So, yeah, that's, I hope that wasn't too kind of bouncing all over the place. But the key point here is find the event that you want to go to. Find out who's hosting it or who's promoting it. And go from there as far as reaching out for media credentials. Do it in a professional manner. Explain who you are, what you do. And if they have questions, answer them honestly. There's no shame in letting somebody know that you just started. And when you first start, you will probably get rejected for credentials. It happens. It still does happen. And it happens to even, I hate to say it, it happens to me too. But you just keep plugging away at it, and doors will open. people will start to recognize you, recognize your work, carry yourself in a slightly professional manner. Don't be rude, standoffish, things like that. And don't immediately take to social media blasting every single promoter or track owner or event because you didn't get credentials. I know I said earlier about the Slamology thing. I'm at the point in my career, I can say the things that I say. They don't care. I don't care. It is what it is. I will continue to go to the shows that I think are amazing and that welcome me, appreciate the work and the content that I create. And same with the racetrack. Like, if I get denied, I get denied. If you really, really want to go to that event, you'll figure out a way. And if that doesn't happen, you keep trying and you keep building year after year after year. And you get to the point where they can't say no. If you get to the point in your career as a photographer, as a videographer, as a content creator, as a journalist, you will eventually, if you work hard enough and your quality of work speaks for itself, you'll get to the point that they can't say no. You'll actually get to the point where they will reach out to you and ask if you're coming. And they will want you to be there. It's not going to happen overnight. So don't look at this as an instant gratification, because doing photography is a constant learning curve. Just like video. Video and photography and journalism, it's always evolving. You're always learning new stuff. You're always going to be growing. And if you're not, you shouldn't be doing it. I get lucky this weekend. This weekend I get to actually go hang out with my mentor, who is arguably one of the best door car photographers ever to pick up a camera. I get to go hang out with John Ford this weekend at Steel. It's always great because we're kind of like the old guys now. But he mentored me when I was first coming up, and I got to ask him a lot of questions and learn from the best. And then I turned around and mentored other people, and I always said, when I mentor people, my objective is for them to eventually become better than me. I mean, everybody that I've mentored has gone on to be successful in whatever, field or wherever they've decided to go with it. So I think there's a lot to be said for that. But there's a lot to be said for just sometimes shutting up and listening to. When you're at the racetrack as a photographer, make friends with these other photographers, because you will learn an immense amount of things just by listening. And the conversations that are had at the racetrack with photographers and other photographers are between those photographers. That is slightly sacred. Like, it's not a secret society, but we have conversations about a lot of things that don't need to go any further than right where that conversation was held. So respect the family that is content creators and media at any events that you're going to. Respect their space, they'll respect yours. Respect the promoter. And just carry yourself in a good manner. And if you have questions, ask. Like, if you don't know who is the contact for an event, and I've done this before, I couldn't find the contact for an event, so I made a post on social media about it. I'm like, who do I need to contact in regards to media credentials for this event? 10 minutes later, I had the contact information, or they got tagged in it and they contacted me. So the excuse is, well, I couldn't figure out who I needed to talk to. That's a piss poor excuse. It's not that difficult to figure out who you need to talk to and who is handling this. So I reiterate, find the promoter or whoever the promoter has handling media, talk to them, explain to them that you would like to come cover this event, explain to them if you've done other events like this, so that they don't just think. Promoters get a ton of requests for media. And if you're listening to this and not watching, I just threw up the air quotes. Media. They get a ton of requests for credentialing. Some people just use it because they want to get in for free and not have to pay. And there is no reason for them to be there. So, yes, promoters are going to be cautious about who they're talking to when it comes to media and content creators. So just be aware of that, and be aware of the fact that they may kind of grill you on it. And listen, the only events that I will pay to get into are like the car show stuff. The mini truck nationals last weekend. That was a last minute I get to go decision. So I didn't even contact the promoter, and it was the best $20 that I've probably spent in all of motorsports in the last decade. So sometimes you may have to pay to get into an event, but this is what I will also tell you in closing. If a promoter wants you to pay for media credentials and still wants to use the content that you create, I personally would not go to that event. I'm not going to pay for all of my expenses and then pay to get into your event and then give you the content that I create for free. If I wanted to do that, I would just be a spectator and keep all the shit myself. And this is a really rare situation that happens, but there are some events there are some promoters and events that seem to think that photographing their event is a privilege of some sort, when in reality they're just egotistical. And it is what it is. It's not some kind of huge special woo-wee. No, So just be cautious of that as well. And like I said, talk to other photographers. Most photographers aren't really standoffish. They may not want to talk about the business side of it, as far as like how they make their money and things like that, but they'll usually be pretty willing. Most, if they're not super territorial, they'll be pretty willing to let you know how things are and who to talk to, things of that nature. So that is kind of a wrap up about who to talk to, how to talk to them, and how to start your career in regards to going to the racetrack or car shows, things that you want to document within the car culture and the motorsports industry. Next time, we are going to discuss, I don't know why I keep saying we, I'm going to discuss my procedures in regards to what I do when I get home from an event, how I handle offloading, storage, editing, exporting, posting, utilizing social media, things of that nature. There will be some technical talk, but it's going to be like, high level, like, I'm not going to say dumb it down, but I want everybody to feel comfortable with what I'm talking about. So we'll go over that next time. That will probably actually drop tomorrow, because I'll probably record that tonight and put it out for you guys on Friday, April 26th. Today is Thursday, April 25th. Anybody who's still here and liking this type of content that I'm doing, and we're not going to just do this, folks, just so you know, I'm still going to focus on the editorial side of things, a lot of drag racing stuff. We're going to continue talking about that. I've been invited to be guests on other podcasts. So yeah, there's I'm going to have guests. I'm going to bring on guests for other podcasts. I know Ellen is going to be on. I know that I have a host of people that have decided that they're going to step up and want to partake in our amazing podcast. I appreciate all of you guys for sticking around and watching this. I know that it's long. If you've been listening, I truly, truly appreciate the fact that you decided to spend almost an hour listening to my hellaciously obnoxious voice while you're driving to work or sitting at work or whatever else it may be that you're doing. If you like the content, though, if you want to hit the subscribe button, if you want to click the like button, I'm good with that. I'm certainly not going to complain if you guys want me to continue creating this type of content for you to consume. I'm not going to complain about it. And if you like it, great. If you don't like it, I get it. I'm not everybody's cup of tea. If you want to leave a comment, if you've got questions, feel free. I'm going to try to answer those. And I may not give an answer in the comment section. I may address it in an entirely another podcast. So, again, I really appreciate you guys. It's Thursday, April 25th. I'm going to check out for now. Next time we talk about editing and the post process after an event. Thanks and have a great day.